102.3 FM.
Welcome to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, created and hosted by Scott Knudsen, to explore the crossroads of horses and business. Now here's your host, Scott Knudsen.
Hello and welcome to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Scott Knudsen. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether you're watching our podcast on one of our many platforms or listening to us on the radio on KCAA, our NBC affiliate out in California, we want to thank you and thank you for supporting our show. Today we have a very special guest. Dr. Michael Johnson's on the show. He has a PhD in psychology, but he never really took it seriously. He's a lifelong roper. He did take it seriously. He was a university professor. He's an author of 10 books. He's written over 200 magazine articles and given over 600 speeches. That's a bunch. His book, I want to show you, Healing Shine, a spiritual assignment right here. It's phenomenal. And thank you so much, Mike, for sending this to us. And he was a winner of the prestigious Western Writers Award, the Spur Award. And the Spur Award is something, I'll tell you what, you get judged by your company. And Larry McMurtry from Lonesome Dove won the award. Michael Blank of Dancing with Wolves won the award. And Dr. Michael Johnson won the award. So thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you, Scott.
Oh, man. So I don't even know where to start. You've done so many great things. So just, I guess, tell us about your background. How did you get involved in the horse world?
Well, my family made me do it. My dad and uncles were calf ropers, steer wrestlers, trained their own horses. They weren't mean men. They did not hit horses, but they had rules. And it's the same rules that we all grew up with. You know, we don't let the horse win. We show him who's boss. You don't ask, you tell, and use whatever force is necessary. And I lapped it all up. I learned every single thing they had to offer. And that would be my problem later on.
Right. Yes, sir. Well, you said at one time, how do you elicit high cooperation without using force?
Yeah. Is
that kind of where that came from?
Yeah, that's where it came from. But it took so many years, I'm embarrassed that it took that long. I mean, just think about it. I was 45 years old. I'd roped all my life, been around really good ropers. And then I met two men, and they were on the order of Hunt and Dorrance. They were not those people, but they were like them, who said words to me that I'd never heard. For example, if your horse is late coming out of the box to hit a steer, you need to pop him on the butt because he made you late. Or if he's ducking left, you get a stronger bit. Well, these two men said maybe the reason he came out late was because you didn't cue him soon enough. Maybe the reason he's ducking left is that you've roped 500 steers and went left every time. And he's just anticipating what you want, trying to help you. Yeah. In other words, they said something I had never heard. We caused the difficulties, not the horse.
Right.
That's a very hard thing to grasp.
It's a hard truth, isn't it?
Huh?
It's a hard truth, isn't it? It's a hard truth.
Oh. Well, it's really hard to admit because if you're an expert, it's hard for you to admit that you don't really know very much at all.
Right.
Yeah. But that's what helped me so much, was to take responsibility for my horse's behavior, the good and the bad.
Right. I love that, man. I love that so much. And, you know, they always are teaching. Every day they teach you something new. But I love what you said. You know, if you're good at something and you've been doing it that way for so long, and all of a sudden you're like, maybe it's my fault that's not working. That's so hard to admit.
Yeah. And then the next thing we say is, nah, that couldn't be.
Yeah. Maybe the horse is late because you're a little slow coming out. No, that wouldn't be the problem. It's a little too deep of sand or something. You know, it's a sorry steer. It's not me.
Yeah. Well, we sort of get in this trap. We all learned how to ride on Grandpa's farm on old Fluff, the old gray mare that would do anything we wanted.
Sure.
So we sort of grow up thinking, well, I'm not an expert, but I know a lot about it because Fluff would do anything I wanted. We forget that Fluff had been ridden thousands of hours and she wasn't going to hurt a kid, or our grandparents wouldn't have put us on Fluff. And we just kind of start thinking we know quite a bit about it. And then a horse comes along, like in my case, and taught me, well, nobody told him how smart I was. That's the problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
they'll humble you quick if you let them. So with your academic background, so you must have been a great student. Is that correct?
Hardly my friend. When I was 18, I had achieved the rank of rodeo bum, and I wasn't a very good one either. I had been to college, and I would get on the rodeo team roping and not go back to class because I had to practice. And using that strategy, I was able to put together 13 Fs. And I think that's still a record somewhere. I don't know. But I rodeoed a couple of years. We won't even go into how bad that was. And realized that I wasn't going to eat every day if I didn't get back in school. I taught my way back in. That took some doing, brother. And something happened. Something wonderful. Those professors got me. They reached me. They caused me to care and try. And it was grace. And I'm not a preacher. I'm just a Methodist. But it was just a kind of a miracle. I graduated with a bachelor's and master's and doctorate. And next thing you know, I'm a school teacher. I'm a professor. And I had those kids on the front that made 104 on everything. You just get out of their way, they're going to be fine. And then I had those kids at the back that began to haunt me, because every time I looked back there, all I could see was me. They had ability, they could do well in school. And then it hit me. Well, how did they reach you? How did they get you to care and try? And I'm not telling you I won the Nobel Prize. I mean, I didn't go to jail. That's what I mean.
That's an accomplishment right there.
Yeah. And so that really began to haunt me and would later become my life's work, my 24/7 passion. How is it that you reach people? How do you get the horse and the dog to do something for you? And how do you do it without force? Because you and I know people,
yes,
that can just hold you spellbound. It looks magical. They can get that animal to do whatever they want, and they don't raise their hand to him. They don't even raise their voice to him. Right. It looks like there's this connection between their mind and. So no, I wasn't a good student.
Oh man. Well, so when you were reaching the students on the back row, was it a lot like training a horse? Did you just kind of, when you took your step back when you were roping and you got that aha moment, was it kind of like that when you were teaching?
Well, it took me so many years to see it, but how did they get me? They got me to love them.
That's good.
That's how they got me.
That's good.
And I was going to say this at the end, but I'll say it now again. I'm not a preacher, but I love what Paul said about faith, hope, and love being the greatest of these. I just wish he had written in the margin for me, Michael, it's also the best way to get your horse to rope for you, the dog to pin steers, and it's the best way to get those kids at the back of the room.
I love it.
And it doesn't mean you let the horse go back to the barn or the dog go to the pool. As a matter of fact, the people that help us so much probably work us harder than anybody else.
Absolutely.
But we know why they're doing it, because they think we can do something.
Right.
And all we need is one that thinks that about it.
Absolutely.
The horse is no different. The dog's no different.
Right. Right. I love that. And you're right. When you show them a certain way and you expect a little bit more, that horse will try his best to give it to you. If you give him the room, give him a little reins.
That's right. That's
yeah.
Right. And if you say, good, that's what I wanted, which I didn't do. And it's so obvious. I know how obvious this is, but you got a new Australian Shepherd here. When I say get in a truck, and he does, I would get under the wheel and drive off. I should have said, that's a good dog.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
Good. Or when my horse stands still in the box, I should pet him and say, there you go. It doesn't take much.
Yeah,
But that way you let them know what you want in a positive fashion.
Yeah.
Instead of me, I fussed at them before. That doesn't work very well.
Why would they want to do anything, you know? And that's just, you get in a hurry, and it's hard to slow down enough to appreciate what they do. And heck, everybody's done it, you know? And
yeah, absolutely. And it hit me one day, Scott. I couldn't stand bosses that treated me that way.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
But if they were kind to me, I'd do anything in the world for them.
I understand. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. I think most people are like that, don't you? I mean, you know.
Well, I think the people that get us to look at a different way, we'll call them mentors.
Okay.
They don't ever tell us we can do something we can't do. They don't lie. They don't spread false hope. But they are masters at showing us that we can do things we didn't know we could do.
Love it.
And again, they care about us and bestow that love not deserved. And when somebody does that to you, you feel an obligation not to let them down. And I think when I lived it with Shine. We worked with him a year, and all my friends that roped really superior, they really could rope. All their solutions were more force. Don't let him get by with anything. Rope more steers, rope him 10 miles a day, get a stronger bit. And what we didn't see was it never helped. I got one of those strong-willed horses like Hunt did with Honda. And I lost all my friends. They all told me, you need to get rid of that horse. I finally came to my senses. I got rid of all those friends.
I love it. I love it.
I knew there was something special about him, and I just wouldn't give up on him. And what saved my life was men and women further down the path than me.
Right. Absolutely.
Helped me.
I think it's so cool you saw that in your horse, and then you gave your horse that room to be better. That's special.
I don't know who did it, but somebody. I always say I don't know if it was Jesus or an angel working a half day and easing into retirement, or a departed ancestor. But I saw this horse in a stall in Louisiana. It wasn't the prettiest thing I've ever seen. And something in here said, he's the one. And I asked the man, how much is he? And he said, you don't want him, Michael. He's abused at 2. No one's touched him for 3 years. He tried to kill his trainer. We were all very disappointed that he didn't get the job done because we hated that guy. We were for the horse.
All the money was on the horse, huh?
Yeah. And then I bought him anyway because I knew. I wish I was that certain in life about everything. Mm-hmm. But it was I'm not an LSD hippie. I'm a cowboy. I don't talk about energy and stuff like that, but it was a spiritual thing. I just knew he had it. And I ended up losing every friend I had. Of course, they weren't my friends at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then we didn't know what to do after a year, but we knew we weren't going to use force anymore. And we put the horse in the box with a steer, and if he got nervous, my buddy Kenneth Colson from Oklahoma would say, walk him out. Don't make him stay in there if he's afraid. Well, all our ex-friends are over there saying, oh, that horse is conning y'all. He's getting out of work. Y'all are ruining him. We just kept doing that. He'd walk halfway down the arena, then a quarter. And one day he walked out about 5 or 6 feet. Now, this is going to get me. And he stopped and he looked around and he walked back in there. And he just stood there like, okay, I can do it now. And Kenneth and I knew that horse appreciated us letting him get used to that. And that's when the lights started coming in. We kept doing that. Anything he was afraid of, like Hunt said, take him away from it. Don't make him be afraid.
Yeah.
And so that's what we kept doing. And he kept getting better. We got rid of little fast steers. We got little jerseys that just trotted and lick you to death is all they could do. It got better and better. And my wife would say one day when he leaves the box, you can't breathe. I said, why? She said, because he takes your breath away. And the ground where he runs is not disturbed because after all, he doesn't touch it much.
Oh my goodness. Beautiful.
I take no credit for his rehab except one thing. I always believed in him.
That's everything.
All we need is one person.
That's it. Any animal or any person, man, that's beautiful. I'm so glad you shared that because it touched me too, and it's so true. You know, you see just that one horse standing in the stall by himself, or that one person by himself, and it just takes someone like you.
Hey, let me insert this. My friend, the mayor here, years ago, he was asked in Commerce, Texas, Wyman Williams is his name. He was asked to be a mentor at the school, and he said, "What do I have to do?" And they said, "Well, come by and talk to a kid a little bit in the library once a week." He said, "Okay, but I only want the kid that everyone agrees is not going to graduate from high school. That's the kid I want."
Awesome. Awesome.
I love that.
I do too.
Because that kid needs it just like the straight A kid.
Absolutely.
Harder to give it to him because he might not be so likable, but he wants that love. And Wyman's touched so many lives doing that. Kids come back and say, "Without you, I'd have been a mess." Okay, that's enough.
But I love that. You know, I love that. So important. So.
Scott will be right back with more.
Hi, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, heard on KCAA Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'd like to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Those that know me know I love my coffee. In the morning, afternoon, and even late in the evening, I enjoy a good cup of coffee almost any time of the day. Now, my team at the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show has been working for several months on creating and introducing our own brand of coffee. We wanted to make sure that we got it just right. We don't want to put our name on anything unless we're 100% certain that it's the best product available, and we've finally done it. We have created a wonderful line of coffees, 13 fantastic flavors offered in whole bean, ground, and K-cups, any way you like to brew your coffee. Now, each of our coffees carries our brand, the very same brand that we put on our horses, our trailers, and our chabs. So you know that this is a quality product. And we only use 100% Arabica beans, the very best beans available. Just listen to some of these wonderful blends and flavors. Jamaican Me Crazy, Honduran San Marcos, Chocolate Cherry Amaretto, Breakfast Blend, and my very favorite, Haley's Blend. A coffee so good, we named it after my daughter. You can order these coffees today by going online to javacowboy.com. That's javacowboy.com. And if you order today, you can get an extra 10% off your final purchase just by entering the promo code COWBOY on checkout. Remember, that's promo code COWBOY for an extra 10% off. Just go to javacowboy.com to order your coffee today.
Jump on something else that you're so good at besides teaching and riding the horse, books. So would you mind talking a little bit about your writing career, kind of how you started and what you're doing?
Well, I started off, I've always written since I was a kid, which is an odd thing for a kid that makes bad grades, but I started writing columns and, I asked 50 people, 51, if they'd carry my column, they all said no, and I won't tell you how they said no. and then a guy named Bronk Fanning, that's a legendary roper, had a magazine at the time, and he let me start. And then I began to write about my horses. And the first 7 books I wrote were really kind of preparation. They were not about horses, but they were like a gift book for teachers. Book about how we help people, another one about a little frog that's failing the 3rd grade, but his grandfrog, who was a frogologist, helped other frogs. he helped him, and lo and behold, that little frog is at TCU now, where he's going to be a horn frog. So they were like that. Well, but then this adventure happened with Shine, and I began to believe that I really did have a spiritual assignment to help this horse. I think I did. Yeah. What I didn't know was he had one too, to help me.
Absolutely.
To help me meet all these fascinating people, you being one of them.
Thank you.
And live a life that I never dreamed that I was going to live, all because of my interaction with him. And I still have him. I got him when he was 5. He's 25 now. When he came to me, he was a frightened, angry child on the inside, a majestic warrior on the outside. and we had some difficulty, but it's a strong bond now.
Mm-hmm. That's so amazing to write that book, and that it be real. You know, you're not just a fictional character. This is a true character within your book. And
yeah, one other thing I'll tell you, I started writing that book after most of this was over, and he had really changed. And it was not a book about a wise cowboy that saves a troubled equine soul. It's a book about a fool that didn't know how to help his friend. And when I tried to write it, I wrote 1,500 words in a couple of weeks, and it was so dry that it would actually make you cough. You'd have to get up with water. And I came back to the computer one night, and it said, the problem is you don't know what you're doing, like with me, Shine. Okay, I wrote it, but I didn't write that. And the horses started talking. And I can't tell you how embarrassed I was about that. I didn't want that at all. But if I wouldn't let them talk, no words would appear on the screen. But if I let them talk, it'd be 300 pages before you knew what happened. And, one main character is Blue, a wonderful heart horse. I just lost him in 20 to call it. But I didn't think of this. I really didn't. Shine's angry. He talks like that all the time. And Blue has a speech impediment. He can't say R's, and he thinks he's the greatest thing in terms of a roping horse that the Lord ever made, which turned out to be pretty close to the truth. But anyway, he says, I'll tell you what the problem is, Pop. I'll tell you what the problem is. With all horse books, the horse don't never get to say nothing. And if he does say anything, it's a deadlock cinch. Ain't nobody going to listen to him. and I never saw this coming. Little kids like that. Yeah. I never dreamed that would happen, but they did.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's just kind of odd. I don't know.
So when you write your books or your articles, are you writing to a specific audience, but just like that with the kids catching on to it, or are you just writing your story and who finds it, finds it?
Well, I go to a lot of conferences. I do keynotes at educational conferences and ag conferences. And the older I get, the more I just want to go to ag conferences. Because, I see what they're doing. And I'm real biased toward ag teachers. Here's why. I taught for A&M at a branch in the graduate engineering department. The kids were brilliant. They were all 4 points. They could do anything with calculus, but they couldn't say good morning. They'd do this, Yeah. But you and I would have to look a long time to just go to the campus at Tarleton and walk around a while.
Right.
And we'd have to look all day to find a kid that couldn't charm you off your feet. Absolutely. With authentic genuineness by meeting you, saying hello, not fawning, but they can make you fall in love with them with charm.
Absolutely.
And here at A&M Commerce, it's just incredible. Ag kids know how to act.
Right.
And the more I do this, the more I want to talk to parents and ag teachers and tell them, bless you for what you're doing. Thank you. Somebody needs to tell them that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. It's just a special kind of deal, and and you cherish it when you come across someone like that. Being on the campus when it's full of them, it's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's where I sell my books, and now I write my columns mostly for me, and I put them on Facebook and my website and friends, and I have a lot of friends that do that, and I love it. I can't stop doing it. I'm Mr. Bojangles, if you buy me a drink, I'll do a dance for you or tell you a story. I just can't stop.
That's good. I don't think you should. You're good at it,
Yeah, well, it's a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if you could do anything else with horses that maybe you haven't done yet, what would you do?
I would really like to go back and redo some things.
Okay.
We don't have a long enough show to tell you how many. But correct regrets and sins, I call it. Like that man, don't buy this horse. He's been abused. Well, buy him anyway. I take him home, and what do? I saddle him up and get in the arena, put some steers in there. He'd never been in an arena. He'd never seen steers. And if you'd have been there, you'd have said, Michael, let's don't do this. This is mean. And I'd have said, what do you mean mean? It's 82 degrees. There's a cover on the head and heel box. There's a fan on him. I'm just seeing where he is, what he needs. But if I put my 9-year-old granddaughter on that horse and turned a steer out for her, people would call 911 and never speak to me again and say, we got a lunatic out here. So if you terrify a living creature, it's the same sin. That's what I wish I could do. What should I have done? I should have put him in the rodeo arena roping arena with nothing on him, and gone to the feed store and bought 10 gallons of paint and came back and painted my fences in my roping pen and let him come over to me first.
There you go. That's awesome.
And tell him my name. And I know how silly it sounds, but to say to him, I'm not like that guy that beat you. I'm not like that. And I just keep saying that till I convince him that he could come over to me and I would just pet him.
I love that. Everything in the whole day was comfortable except for the horse.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. The 4-6s used to send their horses they couldn't reach to a woman in Wichita Falls. Of course, I had to go interview her.
Of course.
And I said, what do you do with them? And she said, well, I put them in the round pen and I go in there with them. I said, okay, what do you do when you get in there? She said, I just told you. I go in there with them.
I love it.
I didn't get that, but I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it now. She said, I could tell you one of the problems with Shine. You never told him your name. And see, 20 years ago, when we hear that, we think it's silly. But what she said was, like Bronk Fanning says, I'm not going to ask a horse to do anything if he's afraid. I'm going to pet him until he's not afraid. And some people think that takes 15 minutes, but it might take months. And that's the truth. I know people that work with horses 2 or 3 years and they change.
Yeah.
And it was 2 years with Shine, But we have to make those mistakes or we can't get any better.
Right.
We can sure regret them,
But hey, if you don't know, but once you do it, like you did it, now it won't happen, and you get to tell everyone through your books. And it saves a lot of horses, a lot of time, and a lot of frustration.
Yeah, we think we're alone. There's nowhere to turn. But everybody, if you're in the horse world long enough, you're going to get one that's kind of disturbed.
Right, absolutely.
And then you're going to be disturbed, and you're not going to get well till that horse gets well. And I have this little Zen phrase that doesn't make any sense. The trick is you got to get well first.
Yeah, I love it. That's the truth, though.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Then you can help him. Yeah, but here's something else I hate. Those friends of mine that we worked for a year and a half, and they said when you do everything you know how to do, then that means if the horse didn't respond, he's not a good one. You need to get rid of him. And so many people I know now, horse go through 5 or 6 owners, and some woman can change him. You know, he doesn't buck with her, he doesn't bite her, he doesn't kick her. Why not? She got him, just like they got me.
Absolutely.
I misbehaved, and they got me to stop on my own.
Right. I love how it happened to you in life. Then you flipped it and did it on the kids and the horse in life. And that's, you know, I think some people miss it, and you didn't. You did it. You know, you did it. You passed it on, which is good.
I just wish I had done it sooner.
Right. Right.
And I wish I had, and I still wish that I could do it better.
Well, yeah, I understand that for sure, you know, but you know, we're so blessed in our audience, the Cowboy Entrepreneur audience, that we have all dynamics, you know, experienced horse people to rookies, to novice, to not even owning a horse and going to school. So we have youth, we have everything. It's a really great group of people, and they hear your story and it instantly will change them if they let it. That's what I like. You know,
I love it. It's the greatest blessing to get to do what you love, to earn your daily bread.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. Scott will be right back with more. For more information on Scott Knudsen, the Cowboy Entrepreneur, visit us online at cowboyentrepreneur.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, heard on KCAA Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'd like to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Those that know me know I love my coffee. In the morning, afternoon, and even late in the evening, I enjoy a good cup of coffee almost any time of the day. Now, my team at the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show has been working for several months on creating and introducing our own brand of coffee. We wanted to make sure that we got it just right. We don't want to put our name on anything unless we're 100% certain that it's the best product available, and we've finally done it. We have created a wonderful line of coffees, 13 fantastic flavors offered in whole bean, ground, and K-Cups, any way you like to brew your coffee. Now, each of our coffees carries our brand, the very same brand that we put on our horses, our trailers, and our chaps. So you know that this is a quality product. And we only use 100% Arabica beans, the very best beans available. Just listen to some of these wonderful blends and flavors. Jamaican Me Crazy, Honduran San Marcos, Chocolate Cherry Amaretto, Breakfast Blend, and my very favorite, Haley's Blend. A coffee so good, we named it after my daughter. You can order these coffees today by going online to javacowboy.com. That's javacowboy.com. And if you order today, you can get an extra 10% off your final purchase just by entering the promo code COWBOY on checkout. Remember, that's promo code COWBOY for an extra 10% off. Just go to javacowboy.com to order your coffee today.
So how do you spend your days now?
Well, I'll tell you, Scott, I sit on the porch a lot, and I look out there at those horses, and I think about the times we won while conveniently forgetting all the many more times we didn't win anything. And just concentrating on the victories, I can allow myself to become, in my own mind, a much better cowboy than I ever was in real life.
I love it.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting on your porch looking at your horses, I mean, when you look at them, what are you thinking? I need to do something with that horse. I need to go ride this horse. Or are you just looking at them majestically? Or both?
I just know the thing called love.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'll be in the office working, and the horse will walk by the window, and I forget completely what I'm doing. I'll look up and I'll watch them till they pass the pain. I just, you know, and I just love it, you know, and I understand.
Yeah, there's something else in my life that equine assisted therapy, you know, not really accepted, but I've been interviewing places where PTSD, you know, battle fatigue. If you see that in the journal, it'll say not amenable to treatment or resistant to treatment. And if you look for recovery, you're going to be disappointed. But some places that do equine assisted therapy, like the Remount Foundation in Colorado, they don't know that. And the things they do for those veterans whose lives are shattered, you just have to hold up your hand when you're hearing the stories and say, stop, stop. I can't stand any more joy. The horse does something for those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does something that we can't get. It's hard to get anywhere else.
Yeah, it's a deep touch, you know. It's a real deep touch, that connection, and it just brings them out. It pulls them out. You know, I was talking to someone. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like an autistic child, about 5, 6, set him on this horse. His parents were standing there, and they said, "This is Charlie." And the little kid says, "Charlie." And the parents just fall apart. It's the first word the kid ever said. And he's 5 or 6 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
What is that? I don't know, but I sure do like to see it.
I do too. I do too.
I
think it's so cool how I know, and I'm glad, like you said, they're not reading the press scripts, but I see them helping people all the time, the horses. And they help them in, you know, the military and autistics and just people that need help. And you see that and you're like, that's real.
Yeah, that is the truth. It just makes your hair stand up. And
it does.
Working dogs do the same thing, and cutting horses do the same thing. You know, you just think, why would that animal do that for us?
Yeah.
The Xenophon, the Greek trainer 3,000 years ago, the king assigned him the task of creating the war horse. Well, he knew that was going to be kind of difficult because horses don't like spears and banners and loud noises. But he writes, you can create the war horse. He will leap on the spears for you. All you have to do is get him to love you.
So amazing. That's the truth.
Okay, I don't usually talk like this, but you hit my hot button. How's that?
Hey, man, I love it. I love it. I have the passion too, and I think a lot of our listeners do. I know they do. So I appreciate it for sure. So what?
Go ahead.
No, sir. I was going to ask you.
I was going to say the other thing that helped me so much. Those two men and my wife. She was a coach for a long time. And over 20 years, they never talked to me once about delivery of the loop. Never brought it up. All they ever talked to me about was what was going on in here and what was going on between my horse's ears. That's all. How do you handle defeat? You know, how do you handle a miss? What do you do when things don't go right? If you're in the short go, what are you thinking about before your run? Stuff like that. That's all they ever talked about. And they brought my catch rate from about 65% to 90% by telling me to slow down.
Love it.
You know, I said, aren't we supposed to rope the steer as fast as we can? And Kenneth and Bronk would always say, yes, but change the inflection. You rope the steer as fast as we can.
Love it. I love it.
And that way you start catching steers. And if you catch a lot of steers, the healer can make up time for you. And boy, you know, if you're 40 on 10, on 4, everybody will say, oh, these kids today, they're a lot faster than that. You can't, that won't win anything. It will too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That consistency will get you on it.
Yeah, to slow down, especially in the short go, it's just really strange. It really, but now I rarely ever beat anybody, but I would place because other people messed up trying to be fast, you know,
Trying
and
to be fast.
be mediocre, but it's 4 clean.
That's a big deal. That's a tough deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice would you give the listeners or the people watching our show? You know, as far as besides slowing down for the team ropers, you know, for just anybody in general, what advice? Because you've done so much at a high level, and people just want to know how to do it.
Okay, I think the answer is mentors. And
Love it.
when we get in trouble with the horse, we have a difficulty. We ask people, who can help me with my horse? And the first thing they'll say is the character that's going to be in our play. Oh, Bronco Bill, get him. He'll straighten him out, you know. And we only check that one person. And we take our horse to him. He's old school. He just punishes. Our horses know better. And now we're really depressed sitting in the middle of the barn. You know, my horse wasn't good, and I let that con man. Well, how do you get out of that valley? You spend some time looking for the right help. You have to do this yourself. You have to take responsibility. You can't sit on the porch and drink wine for 60 days and send your horse or dog somewhere and think there's going to be any permanent improvement. There's not. That they're going to be just like they were in a couple of weeks because you didn't go anywhere. You got to do it. But contradictorily, you've got to shop around for some man or woman that can help you. And you might not be as good as they are, but if you hang around them and you pester them and learn from them, we can be a little better than we were.
Love it.
So I would think mentors are the key, the right kind of mentor.
That's a key word, right kind.
Yeah. A really good example is Orrin Barnes in Canyon, a dog master. I'm doing a clinic with Rowdy, the dog prior to this, and I asked him, why is Rowdy doing that with the sheep? And he comes over and gets in front of me and he says, I don't know. He's not my dog. What do you think? He said, what are you going to do? Be out there working cows and say, wait a minute, Rowdy, I don't know what to do. I got to go off the farm. You stay. And so of course he knew why Rowdy was doing what he was doing, but he makes me answer, makes me try to solve the difficulty, keeps me engaged.
Absolutely.
That's a mentor that can help you, you know.
Right.
As opposed to a person that lectures 2 hours. Well, that's passive sitting there. You know, I do that. I go to clinics. If somebody makes you do it, it's better.
Right. I love that. Passive sitting there. I think I did that a lot as well, you know, back in the day, but didn't get a lot out of it.
Yeah, I think it's important to do that, but it's also important to get that mentor that says you can do more than you think.
Absolutely.
You get on him and try it. Yeah.
I love that. So what's the title of the play you're working on?
I am so glad you asked me that. I'm doing it with a friend in South Texas, at Blanco he lives. He was an actor for years, always worked with horses and acted. And his name is Greg Dial, and we're doing it for the Texas Trail Ride Club at the latter part of May at Fort Griffin, about 40 miles northwest of Abilene. And it's called Two Old Guys Talking at the Best Little Horse House in Texas. And the first part is funny, and it's about the kid that knows it all, Jimmy Joe Jones.
Yeah.
Just can't find a good horse, and it can't be his fault.
No.
Because he knows it's right on horse. And Bronco Bill, the only honest horse trader left alive.
Yeah.
He doesn't keep a penny of the money. He's just trying to help these kids around here. And the money, there's no administrative fee. It's just $100 a session, 10 sessions minimum. And all the money goes to pay Bronco Bill's bills and beer. And if he ever has any money left over, he's going to give it to these little old kids. I guarantee you that. So the first half's funny, but how is it that you get out of that trap, the second half? And Two Old Cowboys Talking at the Best Little Horse House in Texas.
I love it. I love it. So how can people follow you and see and purchase your books and find out about the play if they want to get tickets or if they're going to be in the area?
Yeah. MichaelJohnsonBooks.com. It's got my phone number on there. And I need to give everybody my office hours. You ready?
Ready.
24/7, 365. And I'm not kidding.
I love it. I love it. So they just go to your website. They can find out all the information about your books, about the play.
Yeah. Well, they can call me about the play, and it's on my Facebook page, and but the books are at michaeljohnsonbooks.com. And I'll show you these other two right quick. And Elizabeth told
please,
me
sir.
to go to the right place.
Yeah, Joe Ben Black, Confessions of a Rope Horse. I love that.
Confessions of a Rope Horse. Yeah.
I love that picture too.
Yeah, I do too. And
you're gonna
that's
go.
blue.
There you go.
Story
Oh,
of
blue.
Blue. Let me get that right.
Story of Blue Rope Horse.
A hard horse. I lost him in October of 20, and everybody that knew me thought I would have to go in a mental institution for 30 days because I'm too soft. But it didn't happen. I saw Vin Scully, remember Dodgers baseball announcer,
Yes, sir.
52 years.
Hall of
He's
Fame.
92 years old, talking to Pat Dodger Stadium. And he says, "Don't be sad that it's over. Be glad that it happened." And that resonated with me. And so every time I would grieve for Blue, I would try to insert a memory of joy that we had together, and it helped.
I love that. I love that. And
We all have
absolutely. You know, if you're blessed to have one, you know, you've won. You know, when you have multiple like you've had, that's a cherished thing for sure.
That's true.
You know, it really is. And I love your quote. And you were talking about horses, cowboys, school teachers, and ranch women, and how they're the very best people in the world.
They are.
And I saw that, and I wrote it down. I was reading it, and I was just, it's so true. It is so true.
I think they're the Lord's finest creation.
I do too. I do too. Yeah. So, yes, sir. I agree with you so much. I really appreciate you being on the show. I've enjoyed it so much, and
I'm delighted. You're a wonderful host.
Thank you so much. And we got about 2 or 3 minutes left. And before we say goodbye, right before the show, we were talking about commerce and Tarleton and the people there, and just what great communities, you know, commerce is and Steveville is. And did you want to share anything about that before we get off the show?
Well, both those places are unlike most places I've been. People form relationships there that last 50 years.
Yeah.
You know, friendships, and not just a few, but a lot of them. And that's one of the keys that the research shows to a long and happy life. You would think it's hygiene factors like diet, exercise, but what people report they believe is responsible for their long and happy life is positive relationships. And there's so many at those two universities.
Yeah.
And of course, that's true of a lot of universities, but I've just been around those two the most.
Right.
And they just give you hope.
Yeah.
You know, the kids act. They do.
I love it. They get a little hope and a little education and point them in the direction, they'll do it.
Absolutely.
I
better
love it.
than we think. Better than we think. Which is, by the way, well said about horses and dogs.
Right.
A little hope and a little education, they'll do more than you think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Dr. Johnson, thank you so much for being on the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. I hope we get to talk again.
Anytime. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Be encouraged in your good works.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you to all the great sponsors of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show. If you or your business is interested in being a sponsor of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, please call our office at 830-992-1786 or visit our website, cowboyentrepreneur.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Knudsen, host of the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show, heard on KCAA Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'd like to talk to you about something I'm very passionate about. Those that know me know I love my coffee. In the morning, afternoon, and even late in the evening, I enjoy a good cup of coffee almost any time of the day. Now, my team at the Cowboy Entrepreneur Show has been working for several months on creating and introducing our own brand of coffee. We wanted to make sure that we got it just right. We don't want to put our name on anything unless we're 100% certain that it's the best product available, and we've finally done it. We have created a wonderful line of coffees, 13 fantastic flavors offered in whole bean, ground, and K-Cups. Any way you like to brew your coffee. Now, each of our coffees carries our brand, the very same brand that we put on our horses, our trailers, and our chaps. So you know that this is a quality product. And we only use 100% Arabica beans, the very best beans available. Just listen to some of these wonderful blends and flavors. Jamaican Me Crazy, Honduran San Marcos, Chocolate Cherry Amaretto, Breakfast Blend, and my very favorite, Haley's Blend. A coffee so good, we named it after my daughter. You can order these coffees today by going online to javacowboy.com. That's javacowboy.com. And if you order today, you can get an extra 10% off your final purchase just by entering the promo code COWBOY on checkout. Remember, that's promo code COWBOY for an extra 10% off. Just go to javacowboy.com to order your coffee today.
Express 106.5.